Hey everybody, this is Dan Boul coming at you from my office at 65 Amps in North Hollywood, California. I've got a London Pro here today we're going to noodle around with, and our good friend Dusty Wakeman came by, and we're going to be playing some Mojave mics today, along with one Royer, but we've got two Mojaves here. Dusty?
Good to see you, Dan.
Thanks for coming, man. It's
been
always
a long
good to
time.
see you. I know. What was that, Monday?
Yeah, I think it was Monday. And
we had lunch
Saturday
on Monday, and we played on
Friday
Saturday. Yeah, that's right. Friday, and then Wednesday, I think.
Yep, the big show.
That's right. The big gig.
For the kids.
Yeah.
It's for the kids.
That's right. Yeah, we did, some of you might have seen my picture on my Facebook thing. Dusty was nice enough at my request to join us. Gosh darn it, I messed everything up. Join us on a fundraiser gig for the LAUSD to raise money for music and arts programs at the Colfax World Fair. So we had a fun band. It's Dina Carter, who I still can't believe we got her to sing with us, and Chrissy Guerrero, who's amazing.
She is amazing.
Dusty playing bass. Mark Goldenberg, who's Jackson Browne's guitar player, playing with us, and Kirk Helly, who is a huge composer, movie score guy here in town.
Yeah, and he's such a great guitar player.
He's an amazing guitar player, and he looks like Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
And
Rick Rubin's skinnier younger brother.
That's right, Rick Rubin as a young man.
Right.
And we love you, Rick. Sorry. And then Matt Logg played drums with us.
Yeah, did a great job.
Matt was Alanis Morissette's drummer forever, and now he plays with Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs, and he does session work like crazy.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah, he just parachuted in, no rehearsals, and he afterwards came up and apologized for the mistakes, and I'm like,
what mistakes?
Why are you apologizing for other people's mistakes?
Right.
You know, I made a couple. I'm like, man, it's completely indecipherable to me.
I don't think I noticed any.
Yeah,
but it was a drag that Mark didn't do Wooly Bully this year.
I know.
He barely made the gig, right? Because they're out playing.
He had to be out of town until the night before.
Right.
And he didn't even get back in time. Every time we say Wooly Bully, the phone rings, but Wooly Bully. But he didn't even have time to get his amps out of his locker, so he borrowed my little Gibson.
Right.
Which was cool. Mark always sounds fantastic.
Oh, he's so great.
So it's a good band. And so now there's banter about trying to make it a
quarterly,
an actual unit,
right.
Which I thought that particular recipe was really good.
Mm-hmm.
It was having both those girls is incredible.
Yeah, it's nice when they sing together.
Oh yeah, when you guys sang the Bonnie Raitt song,
mm-hmm.
I think there's a good picture. Wendy put a bunch of pictures up of all three of you guys singing together, and wow, that sounded great. That sounded really good. Very fun. So anyway,
but enough about us.
But enough about us. Let's talk about you. But so Dusty,
what were we talking about? Something about me.
Something about you. What about my needs? So for those of you that don't know, Dusty is now running Mojave Audio right here in Burbank next to the airport, and we brought. I'm always using Mojave mics on my show, thanks to Dusty. And today we brought a new one in that we've not tried on the show, which
it's actually an old new one. It's the MA100, which is the small diaphragm tube condenser.
Yeah.
It was the second mic we brought out, but the new version we put a pad on because it's amazing to cram right up on a guitar amp.
Yeah.
Or to put on a snare drum or toms.
Yeah, so we have that mic on the G12H30
right
today. And then in the back, we have the MA200. And tell us about the MA200.
The MA200 was the first mic we put out. It's the fixed cardioid large diaphragm condenser.
Oh, right.
And we have the MA300 now, which has a pad on it, which we could probably use today because, inside the cab, it was overloading a little bit.
And then the MA300 is also Omni, right?
It's multi-pattern.
Multi-pattern.
Right. So Omni, cardioid, and figure of 8.
Wow.
The 200 is just fixed cardioid.
Oh, okay.
Which is fine for what we're doing today. Although I kind of wish we had the pad, though.
Yeah, I could use a pad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so sensitive.
I should probably just swap you out so that you got a 300 here, because then you'd be able to do anything.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I'm always up for new mics, man.
Well, then you can, any application you could use it on.
Yeah.
And you also have the world's sexiest microphone on there. even though it's not a Mojave.
Oh, the 122V.
122V, man.
Yeah, that is kind of the holy grail, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if I had to have two mics,
yeah,
I would have an MA300 and a 122V, and that would be it.
That'd be a rig, huh?
Yeah, that would be it.
You know, it's kind of funny because, you know, when I heard the 121, I was so blown away with that mic, and nothing really compared to it for me until I heard that.
Well, the thing is that you get into the high end of audio,
yeah,
and things are incremental.
Yeah,
like from 0 to a 121
yeah,
is a mile.
Right.
A 122V is just, another few feet.
Exactly.
They're magical feet.
Well, it's like any product, you know, like if you want a car that'll do a 6-second quarter mile, you got to spend $40,000.
Right.
If you want a car that'll do a 5-second quarter mile, you got to spend $80,000.
Exactly.
If you want a car that'll do a 4-second quarter mile, you got to spend $200.
Right. And audio's the same way. It gets incremental.
Yeah. Or like I like to play golf, you know, to get a driver that if you can swing well, get the ball out 300 yards, it's $400.
Right.
If you want a driver that'll get it out 310 yards, $700.
Right.
You know, just that.
Well, I haven't experienced that yet in my golfing, so
I went through a bad phase.
My criteria is if I can see the ball,
it's a good.
If I can find it,
it's a good shot.
I'm doing good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of getting there too.
Yeah.
I played a lot of golf when I was young, but now I have the heart of a young man, but the back and knees of an old man. So
these guys don't want to hear about golf.
Gibson Guitar Guy says, adjusting a Les Paul neck, which way is tighten? Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Right? Hey, Eric. Eric was the guy that was helping us at the end of the show who came and visited.
Oh, yeah.
The dark hair,
yep.
Eric Yar.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, thanks, Eric. I'm sorry we missed you when you left. Thanks for stacking up those cymbals. I know we kind of went over to the house and got distracted and came back and you were gone.
Is that what you call it? Distracted?
Bourbon says what? No, yeah, we were distracted. But yeah. Okay, very good. So anyway, so just for the people that didn't see you on the show before, let's talk a little bit about your history, Dusty. You are well known, extremely well known, for engineering all the Dwight Yoakam records.
The first dozen or so.
Not that many.
I lost track.
Yeah.
Late 90s.
But that sound was so fantastic, and that's you.
You know, it was a great run. Had no idea what I was doing.
Well, you did it right.
You put a microphone, you point the microphone at the instrument, and pray for the best. That was such a great era, though, man. Big Neve consoles and Studer tape decks, and getting to work at Capitol a lot. Basically, I worked with Pete Anderson, who was Dwight's guitar player and producer.
Right.
And he's just such a phenomenal guitar player, and he has such a distinctive sound.
He does, yeah.
That I was just capturing what he was doing.
But you were able to do it.
Yeah, I was able to do it.
I mean, that was a very iconic sound. I remember I moved here in '86 when Dwight was just getting started, starting to really get traction. And I actually ran into him down at El Pollo Loco on Sunset.
El Pollo Loco.
When he was still eating in public.
Right.
And I think you guys had just finished Guitars and Cadillacs.
Yeah, 86.
And I bought the cassette tape at the time.
Cool.
And was listening to the hell out of it, and I love that sound.
Yeah.
And that's when he goes, oh, yeah, well, that's my guitar player, Pete. You got to talk to him. And they were getting ready to play some bar on the Strip, in a couple weeks, and we went and saw him. Just like, oh, my God. First time I'd heard that sound in person. And it never sounded as good as the records, I got to tell you.
It was an interesting time because they got to open up for, it was coming out of like a really bad period in country music. We called it the...
I'm digging up bones.
The urban cowboy scare.
Yeah.
Where everything was really mellow.
Yeah.
And nobody would turn anything up.
Well, it lost the country.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't, authentic country is so wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
And that just got washed out.
Yeah, it was gone. All the root stuff.
It's kind of washed out right now again.
Mainstream country is. But now we've got the Americana format, which is thriving
yes,
artistically.
Yeah.
But, Dwight came out at the right time. Him and Steve Earle both kind of hit it at the same time.
That's right. That was pre-prison Steve.
Right, way pre-prison.
Yeah.
And just kicked the door open.
Because we used to play Steve's version of 6 Days on the Road.
Yeah.
The George Jones tune.
I love Steve.
Oh, yeah.
The Dave Dudley song.
Is that what it is?
Dave Dudley, yeah. 6 Days on the Road.
That's not George, that's right.
I'm taking little white pills and my eyes are open wide.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's when country had content.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff was real.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the country I love.
You know, if Jimi Hendrix would have sang about that, people would have had protests. But when you do it in a country song, it's totally fine. You know?
Right. But yeah, I mean, Pete had such a distinctive sound, and you know, then he became a successful producer, and I was his engineer. So we had like a good 15-year run of just working nonstop. It was great. And then I kind of, you know, moved on into producing myself.
But
we're still really close.
You opened up your own studio, right?
Yeah, well, I already had my own studio. That's how I met Pete. I opened up Mad Dog in 1980.
And Mad Dog's a very well-known studio in LA. A lot of big records recorded there.
Yeah, we had a 28-year run. I just shut it down. Well, it's in my living room now. I'm still mixing for people. I've got a Pro Tools rig. And, you know, mixing for folks.
But that's cool.
I'm in a different phase of my career now.
You're in business now.
Very happy about it. It's great to be out of the studio business. I can't believe I did it for 28 years and lived to tell the tale and got out with a smile on my face.
That's right. Yeah, you survived, and you don't have to go to therapy a whole lot.
Yeah, not much anymore.
Yeah, it's 4 times a week now.
Well, now I've got my pot card, so... I see you got a new clinic across the street.
There is a clinic right across the street.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, North Hollywood is like the new Amsterdam.
It is. North Hollywood is, what's the right way to say it? Prolific with green signs.
Green crosses, and they're popping up. There's more every day.
Well, it's kind of funny because our neighborhood's purely industrial, for those of you that have never been here. And you'll see like Bentleys and Mercedes SUVs and the $80,000 Benz one that looks like a box, you know, the G-Wagon and Bentleys and 7 Series BMWs and, you know, Mercedes SL coupes in this neighborhood, which you never see. Most of the vehicles here are a 72 Chevy truck. Right. And then it's, you know, guys with obviously $5,000 worth of bling on wearing hoodies. And then they rush into the clinic across the street, and then they come back out a half hour later really slow.
They drive away about 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
They head straight to the taco stand.
But what you do see is funny, and if I were a blackmailing sort of type, this would be great work. But it's just nothing but really wealthy businessmen, too. And housewives. Right. Going in there, and they have the big shades on, and they look around. And you can tell the guy with the, you know, the button-down shirt and the khaki pants and driving a BMW, and he runs in there really quick and then sprints back out to his car and just splits. You know, like, don't want anyone to see me over here.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. They'll probably shut them all down, but for the time being...
Well, you know, the whole pot thing, gosh, we could go off on a whole conversation.
Let's talk about pot today.
Well, it's like a stop sign on a deserted road, you know? It's like, you know, access to pot has never... Let me state this correctly so I can be diplomatic, because I know there's people with a lot of different opinions about this, but having access to pot or not having access to pot has never affected anyone's frequency of smoking pot.
Absolutely. Yeah, when they legalized it, or for medical use, I was like...
They decriminalized it.
Decriminalized it. It's like, I thought it already was.
Well, I mean, it's not really well enforced in L.A. to begin with, because the LAPD has work to do. Right. And, you know, 2 guys smoking a joint is not something that they really need to pursue relative to what's going on in this city. Right. But it's like, I've never met anyone that said, I'd really like to smoke pot, but it's so hard to get. You know what I mean? It's like, you want to smoke pot, it's, you know, between here and the Mexican restaurant down the street, we can find it. Yeah. And especially in LA, I mean, pot's just not, it's one of those things, you know, if you abuse it, then of course you're a dork. But
yeah, and it's, you know, the main thing is to keep it away from kids while their brains are still forming.
That's right.
You know,
but I mean, these places are strict, because when this place opened up, I thought, I'm just gonna check it out and see what it's all about. I couldn't get past the electrified gate.
Yeah, you got to have your letter from your doctor's.
You got to have your card and the whole bit. I was like, can I just come in and look around? They're like, no.
Right.
And they have an electric door.
Right.
And it's like going to the diamond merchants in downtown. There's 4 security guards, and instead of Hasidic guys in the back with diamonds, it's 4 pot dealers.
Right.
But anyway,
they do have some cute hippie girls working in some of those clinics.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole other show right there. We're going to do our late night show. And what's funny is I get like every week I have 4 or 5 guys that go, man, you need to do like an adult version of the show. Because this is sort of a 65 amps related thing, so I have to be, wdiplomatic.
Well, why did we get into the music world in the beginning?
Girls.
So, let's don't have any pretense here that
I fell in love with the instrument later.
Yeah.
But, I remember 7th grade, I got my first guitar, and all of a sudden 9th grade girls were really interested in talking to me. I was, I threw my saxophone in the closet. And
I realized it was either sport. I grew up in Texas, and I was in Fort Worth then. And it was either sports or playing a band. And I was 3rd string football and bench warmer in baseball. So
I played a lot of sports, and I had really good grades until I got a guitar. And then year by year, it just all went away because I remember having this, like, as I played baseball and football and golf, and talking to guys on the football team, and like, man, you're just over there hanging out with those, musician guys. I'm like, yeah, we have band practice every day, but there's 8 girls there. So my mind is like, I sit around playing rock and roll with 8 really good-looking girls in the room, or I sit around with your sweaty butt and a jockstrap.
Yeah, right. Popping each other with towels in the shower.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, man. Or are you going to the junior prom? Like, no, I got a gig in Chicago, man. I'm going out,
Yeah, well, I always thought it was great because we were, it was so football crazy in Texas. And,
oh, yeah. And Missouri's close to that, but not to the level of Texas.
But while they were all off at the game, we were setting up at the gym to play the victory dance and get paid for it.
That's right, and all the cheerleaders were talking to you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a good gig, man. I remember it well. Okay.
Okay, we've talked about pot, high school.
Eric Yar says, how do you think I bought my Porsche? Oh, do you run a clinic, man? Wow. Song about the green crosses. Yeah, that's right. That's a good idea.
Yeah. There's a green cross in the distance with a Porsche parked outside. I'm going there on my lunchtime. See what's inside. Maybe we could have like a group song. Like if you guys could send some lines in,
yeah, that's right.
We'll have a.
Well, I'm sneaking out at lunch, trying to not get caught by my boss.
I keep up.
Just a quick run over to the little green cross.
Nice. I have various artists that I play with when they come through LA, and they're always like, hey, could you do me a favor?
Somebody answer the phone. The Southern Green Cross. Yeah, that'll work.
Southern Green Cross. Nice.
I like that.
Who'd that come from?
That was from Eric. Yeah, from Eric Yard.
Nice, Eric.
So for those of you that aren't interested in pot conversations, let's... Jesus, answer the phone. Sorry, guys.
Do you have a ringer on that thing?
No, I got to replace it. I can't turn the ringer off on that particular line.
And it's a good stout ring there.
Well, it's a pretty loud environment. We got to be able to hear the phone.
In my office, it's turned down to the very lowest possible. That
is the first phone I bought for the company in 2006, and it's the cheapest one they had at Fry's. It reminds me I should go to Fry's today and replace it. Because it drives me nuts. Because there's 3 lines right there, and they're all internet phones that come in through that wall.
Oh, okay.
I have to have the bases all right there.
Right.
So tell us more about the MA100.
Well, the MA100 is, like I say, I'll just back up a little bit. David Royer designs the Mojave mics.
Right.
Before Royer Labs even existed, he was making mics in his garage under the Mojave name.
Oh, can he fix my Sennheiser too? I'm kidding. I'm joking.
He probably would. Well, you just bought him lunch on Monday.
I bought him lunch on Monday.
I'll take it with me.
Okay.
I was going to say he will work for meat.
For food? Well, he can have all the dino ribs he wants.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine.
He's easy to bribe. So he in the early 90s, he published 2 articles in Tape Op, and you can look them up online. One of them in 2001 was how to take an MXL mic, which is a large diaphragm, and do a tube conversion on it. You put in a Jensen transformer and put in the tube, and you could and a few other things, and you could turn it into a really nice sounding mic.
Sure.
That's not unlike an MA200.
Yeah.
Because the capsules are the same, and or similar anyway. They were all KK67 knockoffs.
Oh, okay.
Like U67.
Yeah.
And they've been making them in China for 45 years now.
Yeah, and they're
very consistent.
Yeah, they're great.
We never have problems with our capsules. The biggest problem we have is with our American tubes, our new old stock tubes.
Really? You have issues with tubes?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
Geez, I know that story really well.
So sometimes they last forever, and sometimes they last 6 months, and hard to predict. So he published these 2 articles, and then the second one was how to take a small diaphragm microphone and do the same kind of thing. I think that was 2002 or 2003. So both those microphones were the predecessors to the MA200 and the MA100.
Oh, okay, cool.
Those were our first 2 mics that put us on the map. So, and we found out over the years, and I've used them before, I've got them on our website, but MA100s sound great on toms and snares and guitar amps. Yeah. But depending on how loud you play.
Let me highlight that mic right now real quick. I'm just going to mute the other 2. So this is just the MA100. So it's really smooth and harmonically rich.
Yeah, and that's the cardioid capsule.
Right.
Normally you would use that's the Omni capsule.
Omni capsule, yeah.
I've really been using more Omnis lately.
Yeah.
Just, you get less artifacts.
Oh, yeah. But it's got that nice focus, that people want out of a lot of the common mics today without any of the misbehavior. Right. To my ears. Right. Like say, if you use a 57 or, anything like that, you get all that overshoot and all that top end smear. Right. And they're kind of lo-fi. And it's a good lo-fi, but they're just kind of lo-fi, whereas this is not.
Well, it's just important that people realize there are other options than cramming a 57 up in the speaker.
That's right.
Joe Ciccarelli said that in an article about 6 years ago, and I've never forgotten it, that, who decided that that's how you have to mic a guitar amp?
Because they're the cheapest mic around.
Yeah, and it works, but it's not necessarily the best for every application.
I think the 57, and I have a humble theory about gear that became classic gear outside of studios, is that it was the gear that didn't break. Right. Like Fender, Marshall, Vox, Ampeg.
Or NS10s.
Yeah, right.
Nobody ever loved NS10s, but everybody used them.
But they just work.
Right.
And Shure 57s and Shure 58s, by far not the best sounding mics around. But you can take them on the road, hot, cold, wet, dry, drop them, prop a door open with them, whatever. They work, you know, and they're, until recently, under $100. Right. And I think that's the only reason it became a standard, and it's also like, buying parts for a Chevy 350. Every garage has it. Right. And, every music store from here to, Hell's End has 57s on the counter. Right. Shure was really good about their distribution network. So,
amazing.
So you can buy a 57 if you're in Jerkwater, wherever, and you walk into any music store and like, oh yeah, I got some 57s and 58s. Okay. Because I know we did that plenty of times on the road with broken trash gear. You just go into pawn shops or whatever, and there's 4 57s on the counter. Right. And it's easy to do.
So what we did with the MA100 is put a 12 dB pad on it now. So there's, and the thing about a pad is to really, really work, it needs to be before the head amplifier in a microphone.
Someone's also asking about the proximity effect on this mic.
Well, I've got the Omni capsule on there, so there is no proximity effect. Okay. And that's something that people should play with more.
Yeah, that's really...
You say, well, Omni, I don't want to get the room sound. Well, I've got it crammed up into the speaker
The room is so slight compared to what's hitting it on the front. Yeah.
And also, since we're using it with the R122V, we're getting plenty of like lower body.
We're getting a lot of thud from that ribbon. You know?
So what we're looking for is more like the attack and the definition from the MA100.
Now, for people like myself who aren't as well versed in microphones, maybe give us a quick primer on what proximity effect exactly is. I mean, I know my loose definition of it from experience, but also what type of mics have more or less proximity effect?
Well, any cardioid mic and any ribbon mic, which is bidirectional, have a lot of proximity effect.
Because you can sort of do it here, like right now, and I do that. That's proximity effect.
Totally.
And
that's because you're in cardioid. And this one will do it too. Listen to all that low end.
That's right.
But if this was an Omni, like we wouldn't want to use an Omni in here because this is an office.
Yeah.
And so
it's a hot room,
you
unfortunately.
You would hear tons of ambience.
Yeah.
But if you're going to cram it up in a speaker.
Right.
And actually another thing that people don't know is that Omni capsules generally will give you more, like a wider bandwidth than a cardioid capsule would.
Oh, okay.
So lower lows and higher highs.
Yeah. More frequency response.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Well, that might explain what I'm hearing.
It's not going to be boomy sounding. It's just going to be how low it extends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you need to limit that with a cardioid mic, because if proximity effect is a concern, then you can really just over boom the daylights out of that mic.
Right. And you can play with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. But if you have like an SM57 or a cardioid mic on a speaker, moving it 1 inch or in or out is going to be a huge difference.
Also, where it is on the speaker.
Yeah.
And between the throat and the paper and the surround, they all sound really different.
So ideally, you've got either an assistant, or a buddy moving it around for you,
or an intern,
or if you have some really good headphones that keep a lot of outside, like the kinds that drummers wear.
Right.
Then you can go out there and really move it around and find the sweet spot.
Right.
Put it there.
So if you listen here, I don't know how clear it's coming across on Ustream, but in my headphones, which are just okay, I mean, that just sounds really rich and even to me.
Right.
For and way better than a 57.
Yeah, there's no harshness there.
And I'm not hearing overshoot.
Right.
You don't hear that thing that happens.
And if you tried to do this with another condenser, it's tricky because it's the quality of the components.
That's right.
The transformer and the...
That's 51% of the deal, isn't it? Is
right.
The transformer.
Right. It really is. And we spend a lot of dough having really good... It's like guitar amps.
Yeah, we're the same way.
You hear the transformer.
That's what you're listening to.
Yeah. And that's part of what you're paying for.
That's right. Now, what's the price point on the 100?
The 100 is $795. That includes both capsules.
And that's list price, or is that street price?
We have a motto at Mojave, that's the price.
Yeah, we're the same way.
Yeah, we don't allow anybody to discount our mics. Well, because then it just turns into this big thing between dealers.
Well, and then
pretty soon nobody wants to sell your mics anymore because there's no margin left.
It's just a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I run into that all the time. And even if you have that policy, there's always the internet guy from that one forum that'll remain nameless, who always calls up your dealers and says, I can get it cheaper somewhere else. What's your best deal?
Right.
And then the dealers call me and say, hey, man, I'm like, do you actually have a quote?
Yeah.
Because so many guys will work your dealers. So, yeah, having that policy makes it a lot friendlier. It's like, I could raise the price 40% and then let everyone discount it 25%.
Right. Yeah.
But it's just kind of, what's the word? There's a phrase for that. Bullshit.
Right.
Yeah, it's a technical term I learned while traveling in India.
Anybody that wants to really be a pro in the music business needs to realize that their pro audio guy, their sales guy, is a valuable asset.
That's right.
That when your ass is in a crack, he's going to bail you out.
Right.
The guy on the other end of the email ain't going to do nothing for you. So we actually have less dealers now than we did 3 years ago because I've let all,
Yeah.
Why take a sale away from a good company like Sweetwater or GC Pro or Vintage King, somebody like that, and give it to some guy that's just sitting in a room somewhere playing price games?
Yeah, and it's a tough dynamic because I run into that same thing. And a lot of my smaller dealers really feel like it's a tough market.
Yeah.
And they want exclusivity, but at the same time, it's like, well, we got to sell gear.
Right.
And so
far,
it's
a daily battle, but probably much more so for you than it is for us.
Well, you know, for so many years, we've had such a tight relationship with all of our dealers that sometimes they feel like it's a personal betrayal.
Right.
And it's not. You know, it's just I'm sitting here looking at pictures of my kids going, I need to sell gear.
Right.
And that's all it is. But anyway, back to the MA100.
Let's add that 122V back in now.
All right, so now I'm going to take the mute off of the 122. So you can hear that body and sort of shoulder coming from that ribbon mic.
Yeah.
I don't know how it translates to those phones. Are kind of crunchy.
Well, I can tell it sounds. I mean, to me, this is my ultimate amp miking setup. Is those two mics? You know, for any amount of money. Yeah. Regardless of if I had unlimited budget, that's the two mics I would use to mic up.
Let me back down the gain on this amp here.
I can also hear your pick coming through the vocal mic.
Let me mute my mic for a second, and then you can hear a little better. That's a great guitar sound. We're not really gained up here at all. That's just a nice rhythm sound. So he's picking me up on your... Oh, wait a minute. I muted your mic. Hang on a second. Let's do it like this. Ah, there we go. Now you can hear it. But I'm going to mute yours for a second.
Okay.
Too. So you can see I went from the 101 to bringing the 122 back in there. And then let's bring the MA200. Now, we put the MA200 on the back of the cabinet now, and it's out of phase. And you get this, let me show you just what the MA200 is doing here. So it gives it the feeling like you're actually in the room, and that sound from behind the cabinet, and we flip it out of phase so it'll blend in with the other two. So you got a nice big
groovy mid-range,
good robust guitar sound. Now we're pushing 700 hertz on that MA200, just to sort of emulate the room.
Just for kicks, flip the phase back on the MA200. Let's put a notch in it.
You put it out of phase?
Yeah.
Okay. I moved that mic back, so it might actually be okay in phase. So here it is. That's a great guitar sound right there, just like that. In a track,
right?
You know, just for one rhythm layer.
Right.
That's the 122. You think it's in phase or out of phase? Sounds phasey though.
Yeah. It's got less. It sounds like it's higher up now.
Right. And here's with the phase flipped. And take the phase off. It's pretty good either way, really. I'm just pushing it really hard on here. And then I bring back in the 100. That's a good sound. I mean, for a track, not like sitting by yourself, but just to notch a guitar into a track.
Sure.
Because it sounds like... Which they did with that out of phase thing. Yeah. That same sort of thing. Yeah, that sounds right.
And turn it down a little bit.
Which one?
The MA200, the back mic.
Yeah, I was pushing it just for illustration. That's a good sound.
Yeah, it sounds great.
I don't know how it's going through your phones, but
it's not bad.
You gotta help me get a headphone rig here that sounds good. I need your expertise and experience. Because the headphone amp in this thing is, what's the word I'm looking for?
Crappy.
Poop poop. Poop poop.
Yeah, for our trade show, for Mojave's trade show rig, I always have my MacBook there.
Yeah.
And I've got like a keynote presentation, which is like PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And I just forked over the dough. It was over $1,000, but to get the Grace 903 headphone out. So you come out the USB digitally, and then it converts it.
It sounds really nice.
Oh, man, it sounds so good.
That's what I need, because I like these. I got these recently, these AKGs, and they sound...
I love... Those are 140s?
Yeah. No, these are 240s.
240s, yeah. Classic. Love them.
And man, they sound great. And 10 people had recommended those Sonys to me, and they just sound really hyped up to me.
Yeah, the Sonys are brighter.
But these just sound nice and...
Yeah, those are David's favorite headphones.
Really?
240s.
And they're $100.
Yeah.
You know, fine.
They're classic, and they're making them better now in terms of the cables and stuff.
Yeah, they're a lot sturdier than the old ones are.
But, you know, that was the bad thing about owning the studios. Your headphone expense every month was just... You know, enormous.
Buy them by the case.
I mean, I can't even do a session without destroying a set of headphones.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Is it drummers
tripping over
or
them.
Guitar players that were doing it?
Yeah, you trip over them and you step on the cords.
Oh, yeah. They get thrown everywhere.
Yeah. But you'd always have to have a bunch of different kinds, especially for singers, because they might not like them. And like, well, here, try these. And a lot of singers like the Sonys because they're so bright.
Yeah, there's the whole frequency range seems to be pretty hyped up on those.
Yeah,
they're more like something you'd listen to music through,
right?
Than you would actually want, because these sound more like monitors to me,
right?
Because when I play guitar through those, it's just all crunch. You know, like I'm sure when we were just playing the 100 by itself in those, it sounded pretty crunchy.
Right.
With these, it doesn't. You know.
But David Royer designs everything. In his mind, it's all for classical music.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he can really tell.
Yeah.
What's going on with mics? Like if he does an ensemble, you know, can he isolate the cello?
Yeah. Well, classical's very unforgiving.
Exactly.
You know, there's no room for error.
Yeah. No distortion to help you out.
And there's a lot of subtlety in the instruments. It's not in rock and roll.
Right.
You know?
So if he does a quartet with 2 mics, he wants to be able to sit down and close his eyes and feel like he's there. Yeah. You know, and that's what makes it a good microphone. And for his listening, he likes the 240s.
Oh, really?
They seem to be the most accurate.
Yeah, to me they're great.
So that's what we use at trade shows because we're trying to show what our stuff sounds like.
Well, what kind of headphone amp can I get without spending $1,000 that would be an improvement over this? Is there any old stuff that you like?
Well, you know what I like for headphones is you go to like Arc over on, you know that place, Arc? Yeah. You go there and get one of them, like for $125, one of those tuners from the 70s. Yeah. You know, that has and those things have great headphone amps in them. Yeah. Wow.
I have to, for $125, I'll try it. Because I want to get it where 2 people can sit here and, you know, have reasonably good sound. Because right now I'm running it through 2 different units just to get this. But
well, I've also got a couple that you could try out. I've got a PreSonus you could try out.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what these are.
You got the PreSonus headphone box?
I got this rack mount preamp down here. PreSonus Fire Studio tube. Which the headphone stuff's not tube, but and then just this board's PreSonus. Right. The board's pretty good. I should have brought this on our gig, but I didn't think anybody would know how to run the fat channel.
I can't even run that.
It's pretty easy it's almost like so simple you confuse yourself. Right. You just have to select the channel you're on, then you've got all this everything. But we could have used some compression. So yeah, that's all 3 mics. That sounds killing me in my headphones. It's great. Yeah, that's great. Little clean sound.
You know, and in a mix, you're never going to need to touch EQ with that. Maybe some high pass filtering or something, but
Yeah.
You're just going to be adjusting the balance between those two. It's going to be like a treble knob and a bass knob.
Right. Well, all we did was, for EQing right now, all we have is the back mic is EQ'd.
Right.
I'm pulling out the bottom end because sitting behind the mic there's just the bass will just kill you.
Right.
Wow, that sounds good. Very articulate, man. That's great. Now, what's the full lineup at Mojave? I know you have the MA 100, 200, 300. You have the 101 FET mic, right?
And the 201 FET and the 301. So basically, there's a large and small diaphragm tube.
Yeah.
Large and small diaphragm FET. And with the large diaphragms, there's the fixed cardioid version and the multi-pattern version.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then we also do stereo pairs of the 100s and the 101 FETs.
Oh, really? You like use them for like overheads on drums and stuff?
Yeah, you know, every time people see small diaphragm mic, they want a stereo pair. We sell more stereo pairs than individual ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Because everything from acoustic guitar to drum overheads, you know.
Right. You got to match them perfectly.
Yeah. Well, you don't really have to. Ours are so close that you can really take any two and be fine. With us, it's more matching the sensitivity.
Ah, yeah. I'm digging this, Dusty. I might have a hard time finding the 100 before you leave. Oh, I like it. I gotta throw a Telecaster on here shortly. Let's see. So there's some questions here. Any suggestions for gold ribbon replacement material? I don't know. I've never done it.
No.
I would say gold.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't use gold, so.
That was a stumper.
Yeah.
Let's see. I just saw Mojave ad in Tape Op. Cool.
Good. Good, because I just sent them some money. Oh, man. You know, what used to be the Tape Op convention is now the Potluck convention.
Potluck?
Potluck, as in potluck. They had a potluck studio. We're not talking about pot again now.
We're not back on the clinics across the street?
Yeah, no, we're not talking about that. In fact, you should swing the camera around and just show that for the...
You know, if the cord will reach, I'll do it. Definitely. Yeah, that's right. I mean, literally, you can see it from this window.
It's not an official Tape Op event anymore because Larry and John realized that they were publishers and not...
Right.
But Craig Schumacher, who reviews stuff for Tape Op and owns Wavelab in Tucson, had this event going, and he stopped doing it for a while, but he's doing it again this summer. It's the first weekend in August. It's called Potluck Con. And
there's gonna be a bunch of dudes and hippies showing
well,
up.
there would be anyway.
Like, hey man, this is that kind of. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but it's hippies, but it's audio hippies, and it's really really fun. It's like a little mini trade show, but it's people talking about recording and stuff. It's the Tape Op crowd, so
that's cool.
If you're into that and anywhere near Tucson or can get there first weekend of August, it's a great event. We'll be there.
Are you going?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't miss it. It's at this beautiful resort there.
Tucson in August, though?
Yeah. So the rooms are really cheap. He gets a great deal on the place because it's a resort.
Because you'll catch on fire if you go outside.
Yeah, but there's pools everywhere. It's this
good.
awesome place.
We'll be in air conditioning all day.
The rooms are like $99 or something like that for beautiful rooms.
Right.
So yeah, I'm stoked about it. It'll be fun.
That's very cool. I had this set up for practicing the Stones tune we did over the weekend.
Let's hear some Stones.
Let's see how it'll work here. Need more gain, don't I?
Turn your mic off again.
Getting too much picky.
Yeah.
isn't it?
What tuning is that?
Open G. I just got it capoed up on the 4th fret. So, good Keith open. Right. Good Stone stuff, which I can't really play in open tuning very well, but I sure have fun trying to do it. You got to do the, oh, well, as long as in B, you can do the it's almost the same song with different phrases. Up here and do or go all the way down.
Love it.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, I didn't mute my mic. Let me go back to standard tuning. Just get some different sounds here and hear this. This is a great combination. I'm kind of really getting turned on by this. These mics.
It really is. I mean, that's my ultimate combination right there.
Now, what do you like to use for room mics? Is that 300, 200?
Yeah, any of those will work. The 100s, really any of our mics will work for a good room mic. You just need a good sounding mic. But I like ribbons for room mics too.
Yeah. Smooth them out a little bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Warrior makes a stereo one called an SF12.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that
and then they make a powered version of it called an SF24, and they make a tube version of that, SF24V.
God, what does that cost?
Like $6,000 or something.
Wow.
But I had the SF12, which is just the passive one. And I love to use that for room because it was stereo.
Yeah.
And figure of 8. So you're really picking up from 4 different directions.
Sure, sure. Feel like you're right there.
Yeah.
See what we got going on here. Little Telecaster. This is a very hot bridge pickup in this Tele, so.
Yeah, it sounds great.
I can get your Pete Anderson. I can still remember those songs from the first time I heard that.
Yeah, he always had a little preamp inside it.
Oh, really?
It was a push thing with on the tone underneath the tone pot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's where a lot of that zing comes from.
Yeah, it was like a little FET kind of thing, or
I don't even know what it was. It was just some sort of little preamp. It just boosted the gain, but it gave it more zing.
Was that a thing like what Fender was doing in the 80s with those Clapton models and stuff?
Yeah, maybe so. I'm not that knowledgeable about it.
Yeah, they just had a 25 dB FET under the pick guard, and it had it on a knob. You could dial it in. You know, you had a...
And with that guitar, we would always take a direct to blend in with the mics.
Oh, that makes sense.
In the early days, he was playing through 2 deluxes, and then later on, he started playing through 2 twins.
Right.
But that direct would just give us a little. You would EQ it, like run it through a Pultec or something.
Yeah.
Add a little 10K, and it would just add that zing on top.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense now.
There's a signature sound from those records.
I'm not even on camera. Oh, there we go. I like to. Let's just make ourselves at home.
Yeah, for sure. Put our feet up.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Right there, man. Yeah, that makes sense after listening to it because it seems so articulate.
Yeah.
You know, I know Pete's a very articulate player, but...
Oh, yeah. And the funny thing about Pete is there's not a Telly inside anymore.
Yeah, I never
What
seen
he's
him.
doing now is a lot more blues with a little jazz thing to it.
He's like a Gretsch guy now or something.
Well, he's got his own line, or his own guitars,
Oh, really?
Yeah, Reverend guitars.
Oh, he's working with Naylor?
Yeah, and there's a semi-hollow body with a Bigsby on it, and there's a solid body.
Is it Paul Naylor? Is that his name?
I don't know those guys.
Steve Naylor?
I played at their booth with Pete at the NAMM show, but...
Yeah, I've played the older Reverend guitars. I really like them.
Yeah.
Especially they're good price, too. And get a great guitar for $800.
Exactly. So he plays those, but, you know, he's really more of a Strat kind of guy now, too, sound-wise. Because that's what he plays now like he did before the Dwight thing.
Yeah. Well, he was an MI guy.
Right.
You know, he was a little more of a blues rocker.
Right.
He's from Detroit.
He's from Detroit.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he just had an affinity for doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it always seemed like it wasn't who he was naturally, but damn, he did it good.
Well, it's part of why he had his own slant on it, you know?
Yeah.
He didn't sound like everybody else.
Yeah, it was like aggressive hick picking.
Yeah.
It was really good. I used to really enjoy it. Wood on wood. Well, it's almost 1 o'clock.
It's taco time.
Let's see. So here's some good questions here. No connection between you guys and Mojave amps.
No.
No.
We know them, and those are great amps.
That's Victor Mason.
Yeah, those are fine amps, too.
Yeah, because he's out there in the desert.
He's out in Apple Valley, which is kind of around the other side of the mountain from us.
Yes, that's right.
I say us. David and I both have places out in the Joshua Tree area.
Yeah, you guys are both desert fiends,
yeah,
aren't
we
you?
are. Even before we met, that's just something we have in common.
Yeah.
That's why when I said, "Oh, Mojave Audio,"
yeah, I'm on.
That's me. I'm Mojave.
That's cool. And then Eric Yar's asking, did Pete just sell off some guitars on eBay?
I don't know.
There's somebody trying to sell a guitar a few months ago. I saw it was Pete Anderson's, and it was just some 80s telly that I think he toured with or something.
He's got a lot of them.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't have room for all of them. He's trying to make some room.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. After you tour for a while, you amass a huge collection of guitars.
And amps. He's got, enough amps to fill this room.
I know. He always comes to NAMM, too, and plays our stuff and loves it. And,
yeah.
But that's what he says. Like, I got so much gear.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. But he's out there doing his thing. He's touring a lot, with his blues thing, kind of doing that blues festival circuit. And he loves to play. Bought a van.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it have like the bumper stickers on it? Like if this band's a rockin'?
I haven't seen it since he customized it, but he got it, and it's got the bunks and the place in the back for the gear, and it's
like a little mini tour bus.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he's happiest when he's in it. He loves to play. Just lives to play.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Did you work with Tony Rambo? Is that right?
Tony, a little bit. Tony has worked at Pete's studio I think he still works there. His current studio, Little Dog. Tony came along way after my time.
So someone's asked if we can go over your amps. Well, sure. I mean, I'm playing a London Pro today, which we didn't really focus on much, but I can give you the quick and dirty. It's a pair of EL84s. And it's based on our original London with our blue line, only we took the tremolo and the cut knob off for simplicity and price point, but we've added functionality to this amp that was not in the original London. You can combine the channels now, and you can channel switch. The original London had 2 discrete channels. So now I'm on the 12AX7 here right now. I can go over to the EF86 side, which I have set kind of mellow, or I can combine them both, and I can hit it really hard. So now I'm getting distortion from the EF86. The 12X7's clean, or do vice versa. I'll cool off the EF86 and heat up the 12X7. So you get some really cool different sounds. Depending on the guitar and what kind of miking you're doing, you can get a lot of different things. So like you can even hear it right here. If I cool this down even more, you're getting the 12X7 really getting beat up, but now that crystal clear pick and chime of the EF86 over the top. Like your ear can't tell, is it dirty or is it clean? You can get some really cool sounds. So it almost sounds like a double track guitar. So it's all right there. And I can back down just to one channel. And that's the 12X7 really eating hard.
So the 12AX7, is that more like a Fender?
Now this side's kind of like really early Marshall.
Okay.
And this is like really early Vox.
Okay.
So you hear that really clean detail that the EF86 has. I can heat it up a little bit. It's got a big, thick, raunchy mid-range distortion.
It's great.
A little lower mid than a 12AX7 does. And if you want to combine them, massive overkill there, but even just running them sort of parallel really fills out the guitar sound.
Sounds so great.
Yeah, this is a Telecaster, but just lots of body, and going through that cabinet with two different speakers in it, you get lots of presence and texture, and it's cool.
Do you make a head that's more Fendery?
Yeah, we've got a couple. The Ventura on our red line is really Fendery. The Monterey is our blackfacey kind of thing, and the Tupelo is more of a tweed / brown type behavior to it. But it's got more than just that there, but you can get those sounds really, really well. And then I'll tell you about it after the show, but there's one I want to do right now. And I think it might be our next offering next year. I'm going to start prototyping here this month, I hope.
Cool.
That'll have a good Fendery thing to it. But anyway, yeah, that's the little London Pro. And so there's a quick and dirty on what's going on here with that. What is it he's saying? We can't really hear the low-end percussive sound at low volume. Can you talk about that? And which amp in your line might do that the best? Well, I think for the chunkiest one we have would be the Empire of the producer. This is very thick and fat sounding when you're out playing. We'd played a gig Saturday and I used a Tupelo combo with an Alnico Gold in it. And it sounded big.
It was huge.
Yeah, and I'm just playing a little 112 combo. And so, yeah, but if you want that really rich, percussive, sort of big British sound, the Empire's the one that does that the most. And yeah, Eric was there. He heard the guitar. And they weren't mic'd either, so just a little vocal mic bleed, and that was it. Let's see here. Hey, Dan, I saw Bob Britt this weekend on HDNet from the John Fogerty show. Yeah. It was at the Wiltern, yeah. Playing a 65. You recall what that amp was? Yeah, that was a London. That was the original London. Yeah, Bob's a great player. Neckham says, so if the Monterey's a blackface, Tupelo's a tweed and brown, how do you describe the Ventura style? It's kind of all those. It's going to sound a little more like the mellower blackface sound, not the super bright. Somebody answer the phone. And it'll do a little bit of the tweed type thing also. It's kind of a blend, you know. It's not a Fender circuit. There's nothing Fendery about it, but it does sound very Fendery. And one of the things we're doing on the Ventura that we're not doing on the others is we're using a 12AT7 on the gain stage. So that really changes the behavior of the amp, and so it makes it feel a lot more like a vintage amp. It's, you know, 12AT7 is more current, bigger, heavier current draw compared to a 12AX7, so it's kind of soaking in really nice available electricity, but not as much gain as a 12AX7. So it's a little more rounded, vintage sounding, a little sweeter in sort of the old type of way. It's not as hi-fi as the Tupelo or the Monterey would be. I hope that makes sense. Talk about the Little Elvis, please. Well, Little Elvis is fun. That's also a pair of EL84s. The circuit was inspired by a Vox amp that never went into production. And try not to smash everything here. When I was working on the Vox book with Jim Elliott, you've seen that big JMI history book. He had one chassis that he couldn't figure out what it was. And he brought it to us and said, hey, can you look at this amp? And it was a prototype that Dick Denny had made with Derek Underdown, who was their head engineer. And never went into production. We played it. It sounded great. It had the coolest little ZZ Top distortion, like early ZZ Top kind of sound, but had no clean sound whatsoever. The amp barely worked. It hummed and howled and was intermittent. So I liked the sound of it so much, I pulled the transformers and took them over to Mercury Magnetics and said, stick this on your computer and make me something like this. And we did about 5 or 6 iterations on it and got it right. But then Derek came over for the book release party, and I pulled the chassis out and said, do you remember this amp? He's like, oh, bloody hell. And he goes, yeah, that was Dick's amp. We never made it because it got too much distortion. 1963. And so he rolled up his sleeves and worked with us all day. And because I had tried to copy it just for myself, I wanted one for myself. And we got it working. We added the master voltage and, tremolo and all this stuff to it. And but we weren't quite sure about how it worked because there was this 12AX7 in there doing something we couldn't figure out. And we called like smart people and said, the hell is this tube doing? And so Derek came and he was laughing. He goes, you ever figure out what that valve does right there? I said, no, but we know it sounds bad if we take it out. He goes, yeah, it's a trick I learned when I was working on the south coast of England during World War II. And we were getting hit by buzz bombs every day. And we had to heat up the signal from the radar stations. And so it was just a trick that I learned. And it's kind of hard to explain, but it just fattens up the signal. More than just another gain stage. It doesn't add gain. It just adds body. The wave starts to get broader and fatter, and it's incredible. I'm still not quite sure how it works. Although I know it works. I can repeat it.
That's wild.
Yeah. And he was just laughing. When you got Nazi bombs coming in, you get creative. You start trying stuff. So he figured out a way to amplify the radar signal so they could get clear readings back in London.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's where it came from.
We got sirens.
Sirens, telephones. Welcome to LA.
Yep.
If we could only have a helicopter land on the roof.
Maybe we'll have an earthquake.
Oh, stop it. Yeah, we're due for a big one, aren't we?
We really are.
94 was the last big one. So we got about another 3-4 years before another one hits. That's a whole nother conversation. So anyway, that's where the Little Elvis came from. So Derek Underdown himself, who was the head engineer at Vox, took off his jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and worked with us all day on Elvis and some other stuff. I took 24 pages of notes that day.
Wow.
He just completely opened the kimono and told me everything about Vox and production techniques and, all these sorts of things. Because there was a point where they were making 200 hand-wired amps a week.
Wow. They
had 5 subcontracting houses and managing the parts flow and blah, 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 blah. And so that's where Little Elvis came from. It's sort of a lost Vox that we added some stuff to and we changed it, but the basic behavior's still there. And it was actually polished by Derek Underdown, who was the guy that helped design the AC30 and the AC15 and the AC50 and the AC100 and the Vox Continental. He was the head engineer on all that stuff.
Wow.
Because Dick Denny would just sort of cocktail napkin stuff for him. I want an amp that does this, and Derek would have to make it work. And he also was their production manager, and, he was the guy from 54 until he worked with Dick and Tom until the early 70s, because Dick and Tom started another amp company after they sold Vox in '65, but I can never remember the name. I mean, it was called something like, Jennings something, but anyway, that's the long answer to the little Elvis. So it gets a really nice, fat, rich distortion because of this mystery tube that Derek came up with, and it gets a really cool little spanking clean sound. And it's only 12 watts. It's loud as hell, but it's 12 watts. So for those of you that married wrong and can't play guitar in your house, or you're playing really low gigs, or you have chick singers, or whatever.
Or you're just recording.
Yeah, you're recording, whatever. It works fantastic because it has our master voltage on it also. So you can dial it down to a 2 or 3 watt amp. And it's very functional. So I hope that answers your question. Blaine B says, love my Elvis. Well, we love you too, Blaine. Any other questions you guys got going on here? Before Dusty and I run off and eat Mexican food? Is that what you want?
I need a taco, man.
Okay. That sounds good. I'm in the mood for Mexican today. Yeah? Nothing? Shucks. Very cool. Well, I'm going to do sort of last call. I know there's a little bit of a delay here on Ustream. So once again, what we're listening to today was the MA100 tube mic. Tube condenser with an Omni capsule on it. We have the MA200 in the back, which is a large diaphragm. What's the best way to describe that? Why am I running out of vocabulary? Cardioid mic.
Yeah, tube cardioid.
With someone had a transformer question for you earlier too.
We use all Jensen transformers. All of our mics have Jensen transformers.
Yeah, and somebody was asking a question about that versus a Lundahl or something.
Lundahl makes great transformers too.
Let me see if I can.
In fact, we've got a prototype mic, because David's always playing with transformers. They made us a transformer specifically for one of our mics.
Oh, yeah?
For the MA200 that'll work with the 200 or 300. And the difference is, it's so hard to quantify these things, but the difference is with the Lundahl, it sound more vintagey. Whereas the Jensen sounded more modern.
A little more hi-fi. Is there a big difference in the construction on those transformers?
I don't know. That'd be a question for David.
Yeah, like I
don't know what's inside those darn
things.
Things.
Transformers are so tiny in microphones that I can't even imagine winding something like that.
Right.
Because ours are all like this big. And
right.
You can look in and go, oh, it's this pattern of interleaves or whatever.
Well, that's why the 101 FET has the odd-shaped bodies to accommodate the transformer.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know Jensen's very popular. All the BAE stuff that I have is Jensen transformers.
Yeah, Jensen's been making great transformers for a long time.
They're sort of the sweethearts, I think.
Yeah, they're in a lot of recording consoles in the 60s and 70s. There's some vintage ones floating around.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. So, there's two questions, different questions here. Can you get similar distortion flavor out of the little Elvis as you do with the Empire? Yeah, you can. It's just the EL84s act differently. They have a different sort of rise and fall time and compression characteristics. But yeah, it gets real similar. Just at a much smaller format. And then back to transformers. Can you order Jensen transformers on the open market?
Well, you could order them from Jensen. It's just whether they have them or not. Because they do runs.
Yeah, they're all kind of made to order, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad at them right now because it's been 6 weeks on our latest order. But they're popular, It's like, what can you do?
Yeah, the good stuff always is.
Yeah. I got another run of mics ready to go. I just need, hello, Dave, over at Jensen. I need those transformers.
Yes, I run into that a lot with my vendors. I just call to say hi.
Yeah.
Oh, your order? Oh, I'm not calling about my order. I'm just calling to say hi. And they know exactly why I'm calling. Right. It's like, I'm calling to bug you because I know if you hear from me every day, you'll get busy.
Right.
I'm tired of this guy calling me every day.
Well, he didn't respond to my last email, which is a bad sign.
That means he's overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That means I don't have a good story to tell.
There's no good news.
Yeah. All I got to say is sorry. Well, it's good to be in demand.
Yeah, no.
That's a good thing.
If there was an option, we would consider it, but there's not, so.
Let's see. Got a question here. Any place near Palm Beach, Florida where I can find an Elvis? Gosh, if you look on our website, we have a few dealers in Florida, but they don't stock a whole lot. Honestly, your best bet would be Musician's Friend, which is why we started selling stuff through Musician's Friend, because we just don't have dealers everywhere in the world. And Musician's Friend, they're great, and they move a ton of gear for us, and the pricing's the same as it is with all of our dealers. And you should be good. I think the closest place to you that's going to have something in stock is in Alabama. The Amp House in Alabama, Chris Staten is the guy, or call Missy at the Atlanta Boutique Guitar Exchange in Atlanta. So either one of those two are going to be your closest dealers. And then I think Sound Pure in North Carolina will have some in stock. You see, call Ross Gruet at Sound Pure in North Carolina. They're in Raleigh. Those are going to be
for us too.
Yeah, they're going to be your best choices, I think. And if you want to get a hold of me outside of the show, just Dan at 65amps.com. You can write me, or here on Facebook. Send me a message, and we'll figure something out for you. But I can find you one, definitely. There's a few around in stock. Unfortunately, we're experiencing like really high demand, so a lot of our dealers are low on stock, and we're overwhelmed with building. It's a good problem to have, but it's not good for customers sitting around waiting for amps, unfortunately. Well, guys, I think, and that's what MWF 1227. Why don't you get a hold of me outside of the show, and we'll help you. Also, our sales guy's phone number is on the website, Rich Ross. And he can track one down for you as well. So, but anyway, hey guys, on that note, I think I'm going to call it. We had a lot of fun today playing with Mojave mics. So go check those out. And Dusty, thank you so much for being here.
Always a pleasure.
I look forward to eating tacos in a minute.
Let's do it.
And guys, get me any questions, any information you want to have. I think Brian Kehoe's coming back next week. We would continue our recording the Beatles book discussion.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he was here 2 weeks ago, and it went for 2 hours, and we could have just went forever.
Oh, I got to go back. Is it archived?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to be listening to that this afternoon.
That was one of the biggest responses I've ever gotten, because it was so... I think when he put the videos up, one of the tags was recording the Beatles.
Right.
And, so you just get everybody
searching. Is he part of that book?
He's the co-author. This book right here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that book. I've got it.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic. And Brian's, a really interesting guy to chat with. And we just went off on everything under the sun. And
I didn't know that was the same guy, because I know Brian, but I never made the connection.
Brian's over at your shop all the time.
Yep.
Borrowing mics for sessions and stuff.
Yep.
Because he's cheap. Won't buy one. I didn't say that on the air, did I?
I bought his book.
Yeah, I bought it too. It's
That's
great.
$100 book too.
It's $100 now. I think it was $200 when it came out.
It feels like it though.
Yeah,
a lot of book for your money.
There's a lot of It weighs as much.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I don't know how they pulled that book off.
He spent 16 years working there, and he went over there to EMI dozens of times, and somehow weaseled a little more access. And once they realized he was doing a legitimate project and wasn't just a stalker,
right?
He started, he developed relationships with people, and they would talk to him. But 16 years of work.
Wow.
That's amazing. It's a fantastic book. I have the same complaint about this book that I have about the Vox book, though, is it puts your leg to sleep.
Right.
It's just too damn big. Okay. People are saying thanks, Dan and Dusty. Thank you, FS75. And hey, Paul. I didn't know you were on. Paul Overstadt. How are you, sir? Anyway, give us a note. You can find Dusty on Facebook and mojaveaudio.com.
Yep.
And he's the guy. He can take care of you. And I highly recommend it. So anyway, guys, take care. And we will see you next week. And have a fun weekend.
Adios.